A bit more heavy, especially the sand is a bit more heavy. So right now it feels more like a sand track than yesterday. But yeah, I will try to get the new white Yamaha in front.
Yeah. Love the retro colours.
Yeah, I like it as well. The white and purple. It's I like the retro look, you know, the 50 years anniversary. I like it.
Suits you. Best of luck, Rick. Thank you. Okay, good luck to all the guys. It's time for MX2 Race 1.
Rick Elzinga, of course, the reigning EMX2 50cc champion from last year. And the boys go out for a much-needed sighting lap. A quick look at what happened in yesterday's Ram qualifying race. The boys coming off the start with Coonan, Lucas Coonan starting, whoa, speedway style into the first turn ahead of number 93, Jago Hertz. Look at the kid. Oh, get on. But Hertz, he benefited from that because Lucas Coonan just forced the others wide. They had no option because of him broadsiding up the inside, and that allowed Jago Hertz through on bike number 93 to take the lead from Norwegian Kevin Horgmo, number 24. Number 72, Liam Everts, losing out to number 96, Lucas Coonan. Everts also wearing a spiffing new outfit for the event, and Simon Langenfelder making moves on number 516, the Gas. Simon had been actually fastest in time practice. Whoa, and there is Sasha Coonan going down, and Lucas Coonan riding over his twin brother. Unavoidable, really. Fortunately, he's all right as Lucas Coonan now steers through to second place. Liam Everts fighting out with Kaida Wolf and number 80, Andrea Adamo. Catching, and Horgmo goes down. Everts gets impeded. Simon Langenfelder goes round the outside. Andrea Adamo forces round the outside and then cuts inside, and Liam Everts loses that position. But Everts fighting hard with the long... and down goes Kaida Wolf. This sand is certainly grabbing all these MX2 boys. A mistake by Simon Langenfelder, and that allows the Nestan Husqvarna of Lucas Coonan to power through. But at the front, untroubled, the Sandmeister himself. Well, would you believe it, 30 years ago, when this colour scheme was popular, his dad was mechanic to Monique Bevolts, who won here, who won a 250 Grand Prix right here at Lommel in 1993 on a Kawasaki. So victory then for number 93, Jago Hertz. Second place for Lucas Coonan, number 96. And then Langenfelder finishing third ahead of Andrea Adamo. This is how the championship looks. Notice they're tied together now. Kaida Wolf and Jago Hertz tied second on 501 points behind Andrea Adamo. Thibault Bennistung on 462, just 9 ahead now of Liam Everts. Rowan van der Moorsteek missing. He broke his collarbone last week at Loket and is out for surgery. Welcome back to Eurosport 2 for the MX2 Race 1 of the Monster Energy Motocross Grand Prix of Flanders. We've had a quick look at the highlights of the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Flanders. In the Ram qualifying race yesterday, it was won by Jago Hertz. This was the order. Coonan, Lucas Coonan second ahead of Langenfelder. Andrea Adamo, the red plate holder, in fourth ahead of Liam Everts, who just fended off Kaida Wolf, who went down in front of Kevin Horgmo. Isaac Gifting from Sweden and Ivano van Erp from the Netherlands also scored points ahead of David Braceras, Sasha Coonan, who remounted from a fall, Thibault Bennistung, who was struggling a bit, ahead of Emil Weckman. Weckman, the sole surviving member of the Motor Bleus team. Jan Pansar, that's because, incidentally, we've suffered a problem for Valentin Guillot, who's out of MXGP with a shoulder injury after damaging himself practicing on Wednesday, in the sand, of course. This is Andrea Adamo. He finished 4th in that Ram qualifying race. And the 20-year-old Italian, who was very upset at the treatment he got from Rick Elzinga last weekend. I think Rick will be advised to stay away from Andrea today. The man who finished 2nd in yesterday's Ram qualifying race, 16-year-old Lucas Koonen. The man who won it, clearly, was the almost veteran MX2. His last year in MX2, in fact, before he ages out. And Iago Hertz, of course, has finished 2nd in MX2 for 3 years in succession. So is this to be his year at last? Simon Langenfelder he's been setting fastest laps, but just fades a little bit towards the end of a race as he did yesterday, and finished eventually 3rd in the Ram qualifying race. But that's pretty good for a German who likes hardpack. Liam Everts, of course, you'd expect him to be running right near the front in the sand. Same too for Kai de Wolf, who pulled himself back up to finish in 7th place after falling rather dramatically when dicing with Liam Everts. Sasha Koonen, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Wow, he's doing a Mark Bagton, pumping himself up on the starting line. And the Monster Energy plate in front of the Hooten Metal Yamaha Racing Ivano van Erp, who now lies 54th in the World Championship after scoring that single point in the Ram qualifying race yesterday. Being a Dutchman, he's liable to be a sandfly. In fact, all of those in your picture really are liable to be sandflies. A lot will depend on the start. MX2, race 1, ready to go. Koonen on the left, Koonen on the right. Who's going to make the vital hole shot? The gate drops. And immediately the Koonen boys make arrow for that apex of this huge first turn. Right round the outside goes Langenfelder. He gets blocked off. It's Gates who grabs it ahead of Lucas Koonen. And inevitably there are fallers in the sand. Iago Hertz is the first man out of the blocks. So Hertz leads the way. Oh, and Kai de Wolf, the man who's joint 2nd in the championship, is one of the men who's gone down in that first turn. What bad luck for that guy. 2nd place for his Nestan Husqvarna teammate Lucas Koonen. He'll be a danger round here. Andrea Adamo in 3rd place. Håkan Osterhagen in 4th. Oriol Oliver gets a great start in 5th ahead of Langenfelder. Sasha Koonen. Emil Weckman is also quick out of the blocks ahead of Horgmo and Elzinga. Braceras in 10th. Gifting down in 12th place. Kai de Wolf with a huge amount of work to do. He'll be fast, but he'll need to be. Langenfelder attacking the red plate holder of World Championship leader Andrea Adamo. The two white men are out front. The celebratory outfit worn by Iago Hertz, 50 years of the YZ250 Yamaha, followed by the Nestan Husqvarna in its typical colours. And you can see that there's a fairly packed house here. Belgium, not exactly starved of motocross these days, but certainly has been a bit starved of top motocross riders. And at the moment they've got Iago Hertz leading the way. And obviously on this showing, moving into 2nd place in the championship. He's got to course to somehow haul back points on Andrea Adamo, who's currently 3rd with Simon Langenfelder behind him as Sasha Koonen moves past Norwegian Håkan Osterhagen into 6th place. Liam Everts down in 16th place. What a terrible start for the son of Stefan. Stefan Everts, of course, a winner here back in 1994 in his first season with Kawasaki. And as I suspected, Iago Hertz will not be able to pull away from this kid Lucas Koonen. He is dynamite. His big threat, of course, is to cross the pond and ride in the AMA American National Series next season. He'd want to do that young. Right now, of course, this weekend, Washougal, in Washington has blown the 250cc AMA series wide open, because Hunter Lawrence once again having given best to Hayden Deegan, and the 16-year-old Deegan, who would become an immediate contemporary and rival of the Coonan boys, of course, if they went across the Atlantic. He is now only 3 points behind the Australian in that championship series. Lucas Coonan now threatening to burst that Belgian bubble right on the back wheel of the 22-year-old Belgian. Jorgo Hertz, the leader here in that lovely pink and purple livery, needs all the points he can get in his attempt to overcome that mid-season wrist injury. But Lucas Coonan, we know, having seen him practicing in this stuff, he loves it. And also he's got such a quiet confidence about him. He in Motocross Grand Prix racing, and Hayden Deegan over the pond as he goes for the inside line. And for a moment I thought he was going to grab it. Notice how far back. There's a good battle going on for third place as Simon Langenfelder tries to get the better of Andrea Adamo. And he's got through. Langenfelder on that Vermilion gas passes the tangerine orange of the Red Bull KTM. So the championship leader at the moment is dropped back to fourth place. Langenfelder really impressing me, really impressive yesterday. He was the fastest man in time practice with a lap of 2 minutes 2. He was the fastest man in warm-up classification this morning with a time of 2 minutes 7. And he finished third in the Ram qualifying race. Right now these guys are lapping at that pace at about 2 minutes 7.4, the fastest lap time set by Jorgo Hertz. And the track has amazingly soaked up the rain showers that fell this morning. Quite remarkable how well sand can absorb that moisture. Hertz responding with that fastest lap time of 2 minutes 7.44 against the 2 minutes 8 seconds of Lucas Coonan. And he will, of course, be aware of how the home fans will be egging on his every move. Langenfelder third. How is Liam Everts doing? If we look back downfield, he's just gone past Jan Panzer into 15th place. As we come off the line here, Simon Langenfelder goes for a huge wide swoop. Adamo gets it all wrong. That allows Lucas Coonan through. But a beautiful drift, feet up, from Jorgo Hertz moves him to the front. And Hertz still holding on in front of Lucas Coonan. The Dutch and Belgian boys have always, throughout the history of motocross, been remarkable sand riders. Isaac Gifting is up to 11th place ahead of Sasha Coonan. Everts in 15th place. And Kaida Wolf up to 22nd from dead last. Huge amount of work to do, though, for Kaida Wolf, because Jorgo Hertz there, the man, number 93, who's level with him in the World Championship, at the moment has a clear track. Langenfelder holding on in front of Andrea Adamo. Oriol Oliver, the young Spaniard who's leading the ADAC German Youngsters Cup. He's doing well. He's been winning all those races. And he's also been doing pretty handily here. There's Kevin Hogmo, number 24. He's lying in 6th place behind Oriol Oliver. So the Norwegian Formula MX2 champ. And Norwegian, Scandinavians traditionally also good in sand. The F&H Kawasaki of Kevin Hogmo only rode his first Grand Prix back in 2020 in Matterley Basin, which of course is hosting the final round of this year's World Championship. Finished 4th in MX2 GPs last year. There's number 44, Rick Elsinger, likes the retro stuff. I think he'd be rather partial to keeping this colour scheme on, wouldn't he? Elzinger being threatened by David Braceras. And still, Koonin versus Hertz at the front. Hertz conscious of the fact that obviously he can't afford any mistakes because he's got this tearaway 16-year-old breathing down his neck. We've already seen Koonin win races in MX2 this year. We know that he runs 7 out of the last 8 motors of the year in EMX 250 last year in his pursuit of Rick Elzinger, who ultimately took the title. Look at number 93, I should think he is. Notice how the difference between the state of Jago Hertz and the state of Lucas Koonin. That sand, there's just enough dampness in it to stick to the front, to obscure his number plate and generally clag up that beautiful kit that he's wearing. It's not too bad though, it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. Notice in the background, Simon Langenfelder just put a lap time in, 0.7 of a second quicker. Andrea Adamo was also quick. Oh, until that moment, wow, that was a heavy landing for the championship leader, who was visibly upset with the treatment he got from Rick Elzinger in the first Moto at Loquet a week ago. And of course, Andrea Adamo, of course, has been practicing hard here because Italians don't automatically take to sand. Their great first world champion in 1984, Michele Rinaldi, always used to describe it as needing a bucket and spade, and that's the only reason to go anywhere near sand. But Italians have been led, of course, by Antonio Cairoli, who came and lived in Lommel and made it his home and just practiced endlessly around here to get used to sand and ended up as a 9-time world champion. And, of course, has won here in the past. Cairoli, a winner here in 2011, 2012, and again in 2014. Jeffrey Hurling's not here today. He was a winner in MX2 in 2011, MXGP in 2017 and 18. And Jorge Prado, who's leading the MXGP World Championship, he did 3 years on the bounce in MX2, 17, 18 and 19. He was the winner here. But the local club, fronted by club chairman Johan Boonen, himself a 2-time 500cc Grand Prix winner, have radically altered this track since last year. So this is a new circuit for the boys to learn their way round. Two minutes 9.7 against 2 minutes 9.77 against 2 minutes 9.77 for the race leaders, and then they've just gone round at 2:10 flat, 2:10.3 for Koonin, 2:10.1 for Langenfelder, 2:11 seconds dead for Andrea Adamo after that mighty crunching moment off that jump. And Kevin Hogmo, I think, has got through ahead of Oriel Oliver, or he's certainly trying to. So Oliver pushed back to 6th, Elzinger 7th, Braceras in 8th place, Bonacorsi, the EMX 250 challenger, there in 9th place, Isaac Gifting now in 10th, the leader of the national championship back in the UK. And he is being threatened now by Liam Everts. There is our first glimpse of the number 72. Liam Everts straining to make a move after whatever befell him in the first lap. Kevin Hogmo losing out again. So Oliver just ahead of him. There is a number 51 on the bike somewhere. Hogmo in 6th place on bike number 24. Elzinger 7th. Braceras in 8th. Bonacorsi in 9th. 10th for Gifting. About perhaps to be swallowed up by Liam Everts. Sasha Koonin in 12th place. Kaida Wolf up to 14th place. What a ride on bike number 14. Now passing Slovenian Jan Panzer. Jan Panzer on the private 253 JP KTM. And strangely enough, and this is a thing I'll probably only be able to tell you of right now, is that he's rides bike number 253 and he's got 253 points. Rick Elsinger, number 44, still enjoying that lovely tackle that he's got on, keeping it as clean as he can. Also looking neat in new kit, Liam Everts. Incidentally, Liam Everts' father, Stefan, has been launching a new gin in a presentation pack that looks like a petrol jerry can, designed by Troy Lee. Really cool, but it will cost you about €400 to actually buy it. So yes, it's a rich man's toy. Meanwhile, Iago Hirt still leads the way from a very resilient number 96. And already we're coming up behind back markers, because this stuff will be really taxing for some of these guys. I think that's the Danish rider William Voxen Kleeman that they're passing. They've already seen off the Indonesian Del Vinto Alfarizi, which is no surprise. This is really intriguing, this battle, because Iago Hirt, you don't know how much he just might be holding reserve. He's dropped his time again to 2 minutes 9.4, but his shadow is recording identical lap times every time. He's done 2 minutes 9.4. Langenfelder 10.2, Adamo 10.9, Oriol Oliver 2.13 against Hawkmo's 2.11. So with a clear track ahead of him and conditions so good, Iago Hirt at the moment is looking really quite smart. We're on 14.5 laps, lap 8. 14.5 minutes, that is, plus 2 laps. And there's our first glimpse of that first turn faller during that initial mayhem. Oh, and Liam Everts got knocked sideways in that first turn. Oh, and that was the nasty pile-up that caught up Kaida Wolf. He actually torpedoed the back of someone's back wheel, and that just took his front and just tipped him right over the front. But Liam Everts actually got knocked sideways in that first turn, not completely upright, bounced off the rider outside him, which prevented him falling down, but brought him to a complete halt and put him right near the back of the pack. Number 174, Alessandro Valeri, the Italian on a KTM, lying in 33rd place. There was a time when the fields were packed with privateers who were actually moved from Grand Prix to Grand Prix, and were always well capable of adapting to different terrain. Now we have people who just pop up for the weekend, and well, they can be struggling particularly around this loose sandy stuff that they've got to deal with here. Iago Hirt said after the Ram qualifier that he'd ridden quite comfortably at the front. He didn't want to take too much out of himself before Sunday. You got this. I love the way that the pit boxers can instruct people so well when they're not actually out there doing the job. Here we are at last with a glimpse of Oriol Oliver, number 51, being caught by Kevin Hawkmo. But the young Spaniard is adapting himself very, very well to these conditions. He's absolutely dominating the Youngsters' Cup in Germany. He's won every race. Rather like Hunter Lawrence in the States. He's now won 16 successive motos. No one's beaten him. Sorry, Jet Lawrence, I beg your pardon, leading the 450 class over there by 95 points now. And the hard-working Horgmo straining every which way he can to get himself on the back of Oliver. Liam Everts into 9th place past Sasha Kunin. He's now got about 2-second gap to Rick Elzinger in 8th place. And there's number 18, William Voxen Kleeman, being lapped. One thing about this track is wide, and it gives a variety of potential lines. It allows any clear-thinking back marker, if there is such a thing in these conditions, to move aside without blocking the progress of the people who are lapping them. And suddenly Jago Hertz has just been able to pull out about a 2-second gap over Lucas Kunin. He's done a lap, even though his lap time had dropped to 2 minutes 10.2, Kunin shed about 3.3 of a second on that. So he's just fallen back slightly. Langenfelder, in the meantime, is 6 seconds adrift, but has a considerable gap now on Andrea Adamo, who's probably thankful for the fact that guys like Liam Everts here had mishaps on the first lap. This is Liam Everts closing in on Yamaha's Elzinger. He wants to beware, judging by Elzinger's treatment of Andrea Adamo last weekend. You can hear the course commentator absolutely giving it the beans as Liam Everts tries to force his way through the pack. Liam incidentally says he's really found a home with Red Bull KTM, and he's, whoa, lovely move up the inside there. Elzinger left flat-footed. And Liam Everts, the 18-year-old son of the great Stefan and grandson of the equally great Harry, who is here, of course, with his 3 brothers, having a few beers every night. Liam has signed a contract extension with Red Bull KTM. And there's one guy, that's Alessandro Valeri, finding out how tough the sand can be. Liam Everts coming up behind Bonacorsi, the Italian. Andrea Bonacorsi acquitting himself well in 7th place. Liam Everts absolutely berm-busting behind him in 8th. Everts' last lap was a 2:12.6. Bonacorsi was a 2 minutes 15, so he'd suddenly shed about 3 seconds on that lap. Of course, this stuff is hard-wearing stuff. Oh, and a problem for Kaider Wolf. Is Kaider Wolf out? Something's happened to Kaider Wolf, the man who was tied 2nd in the championship. Oh, Liam Everts looking a bit untidy. He really is riding the fringe of desperation as Nestan Husqvarna go in search of the headphones. Aren't going to help you there, son. You want to take them off and listen for where he might be. Andrea Bonacorsi, who was one of the front men in EMX 250 and has been riding in the EMX 250 class this weekend. No wonder he might be feeling a bit tired, but he's holding up. Whoops, he is getting a bit lopsided. Jago Hertz has done a 2 minutes 9.9. That's almost a second quicker than Lucas Kunin. Could it be that he's just beginning to pull the pin on the young Dutchman? And there you can see the gap between them. Here's Andrea Adamo. He's in 4th place, but he hasn't got anyone challenging him from behind. So the championship leader fairly fortunate. That means if he scores 18 points, he'll only shed 7 points on Jago Hertz if Hertz manages to win this race. There was a glance over his shoulder there from Italian Bonacorsi, looking right into the eyes of Liam Everts. And Everts, whose favourite track, surprisingly, he describes as Matterley Basin, where he broke a finger at the beginning of last season, which really wrecked his early season. ended up 10th in MXGP after missing 6 rounds. He scored actually in every other race and was 3 times 4th on his way to that top 10 finish. So that legendary Everts consistency was already showing itself. Bonacorsi doing a real Fabian Foray, isn't he? And looking back over his shoulder at every possible opportunity. Bonacorsi on a Yamaha, but obviously disguised in red. And Hogmo still trying to get himself past Oriol Oliver into 5th place. Incidentally, a man who's won here 3 times previously, Jeffrey Hurlings, who's out injured, healing that neck and back of his. He's going to actually make his comeback in the ADAC German Masters Series that runs at the same time as the Youngsters Cup that number 51, Oriol Oliver, is leading. And Jeffrey, he really loves the hard pack of Geildorf, a famous track in Germany that hosted great Motocross of Nations twice in the 1980s. And many times a German Grand Prix track. He's going to make his first appearance there in the ADAC Masters Championship. So he's also going to Tenfeld for a sandy. Whoa, talking about sandy riders and what they can do. There's Liam Everts just cutting across the ruts and devouring Bonacorsi and saying, I've had enough of this, let's go. So Everts moves up to 7th place on bike number 72. As I was saying, Jeffrey Hurlings is going to make his comeback under the radar in the ADAC Championship in Germany. Tenfeld is a sandier track, more like this. And then he hopes to be back for a couple of final Grand Prix to try and extend his record-breaking sequence of Grand Prix wins. Simon Langenfelder's riding well. He's lapping at the moment 2 minutes 13, which is exactly the same time as Lucas Koonen has dropped to in 3rd place. Whereas Jago Hertz now just throttling back slightly, 2 minutes 11, after setting a best lap time of the race early on of 2 minutes 7.4. But the tall German on the factory Gasgas really proving that when he was practicing hard here and looked quick, he was proving that he can go quick round here and he can stay quick round here. He's always got targets, of course, in the shape of lapped riders to come. Ooh, and see the lappers beginning to slow when they hit some of these bumps if they get them slightly wrong. It's really demanding stuff. I remember the great Nat Cole, the first time he rode at Hawkston Park, and said, oh, well, he didn't think it was as bad as people had made out in practice. And then he went out for his first race. He said, I thought someone had dropped a bomb on it. The sand can absolutely change. It's one of the things that the fine Grand Prix winner Jeremy Watley used to say about sand, that he loved about sand, was the way that lines could change on every lap. You'd be looking for different ways around the track in sand. Peter Polak has just been lapped there, and he is a former rostrum finisher here, would you believe, in Lommel. That's quite a surprise to see. So Jago Hertz then coming up now behind Jan Panzer. Is going to be his next victim on that tangerine orange private KTM. Glances over his shoulder, the Slovenian, slightly surprised to see Jago Hertz already lapping him. Meanwhile, Oriol Oliver, number 51, holds it on in front of F&H Kawasaki's Hogmo. And just behind now, Liam Everts closing that gap. Everts lopped a couple of seconds out of Kevin Hogmo on that lapping, and Oriol Oliver. Oh, steady, son. The 18-year-old working hard. Well, he's on lap 13 already. He's got just over 2 minutes and 2 laps to try and sort out those 2 guys in front of him. I would think that's as far as he could get. He might be able to reach top 5. if he doesn't tire in these closing laps. This is demanding stuff, physically tormenting. Taylor Hamill, the English boy, is just outside the point. The two English lads, in fact, I beg your pardon, English and Welsh. Taylor Hamill is 21st, Joel Ritchie is 22nd. Jan Panzer struggling back in 23rd place behind them. And they're ahead, just ahead of Håkan Osterhagen, who we saw running right at the front during that first lap. Sasha Koonen's into the top 10. With Kajda Wolf going out, that leaves a gate properly clear, properly open for Jago Hertz. If he gets a full house 25 points, that will shove him 25 points clear of Kajda Wolf in that battle for second place. Liam Everts just beginning to look slightly weary. Number 338. Thought for a moment we had Zach Osborne back. No, indeed, it's 31st place Philip Olsson of Sweden on his Husqvarna. Less than a minute plus 2 laps to go, and all the time Liam Everts edging in on this battle between Oliver and Håkmo. Consistently a couple of seconds quicker. And there's another man being locked in there, Peter, and that is Peter Polak. That's the Czech rider, Peter Polak, getting a blue flag waved at him. Liam Everts will have to head for the inside, which he does. Now, where's he going to choose to try and put one on Kevin Håkmo? A drive through the pack like this always gets harder as you get nearer the front. Whoa, he's not wasting any time. Another fallen rider there. Yellow flag desperately waving to warn people. Beautiful move by Liam Everts. He moves inside Kevin Håkmo, chops across the front of the F&H Kawasaki. Now he's 6th. Oriel Oliver in his sights. And poor Håkmo has been straining to get past Oliver all that time. Whoa, and Kevin Håkmo momentarily steering off track to avoid the fallen rider. So that familiar number 72 of his father, Stefan. 3 laps to go for him to nail Oriel Oliver. We're on lap 13. A decent ride for the UK-based Estonian, Jorgen Matthias Telviku, in 16th place behind Emil Beckman, and Camden McClellan, the South African who was so brilliant on the hard pack of Lockett, in 14th place at the moment, 17th currently in the World Championship after that good showing last week. Jago Hertz then has 3.9 seconds now over his pursuer Lucas Koonen. Liam Everts, second fastest man on track as he tries to close, and he's lapping a lot faster than it looks on track here as he tries to close that gap. I mean, faster than Oriel Oliver as he tries to close the gap on the Spaniard. There they go, past the pit boxes, into the left-hander where it all went wrong for him at the beginning of the race. And someone's laying a fair blue smoke screen behind them here for these guys to sort out, or see through. Breathe even. Kevin Håkmo, you can see how it can revitalise someone of Håkmo's stature when he's overtaken. He can latch on to Liam Everts and start attempting a lap at the same time. Coming up to lap the back marker, who looks as if he's riding a motorcycle that's on fire. Oh, Liam Everts beautifully moves in front and just cuts inside Oriel Oliver. That's what a top-class rider can do, just make a move as quickly as that, scythes his way through. But the Spaniard isn't taking that lying down and tries to respond to the KTM. So KTM versus KTM here. Oliver, of course, representing the WZ racing team. Liam Everts, number 72. They're overtaking Adrien Petit of France on his smoking Yamaha. Meanwhile, with 1 lap to go, still as clean as when he set off, it's the man who's dominated this race from the outset, having been just allowed that gap, slow out of the gate, but on the inside, a broadsiding Lucas Koenen moved everybody else over and allowed Jago Hertz through. And at last, Horgmo, inspired by Liam Everts, has moved through, and here comes Bonacorsi also moving through on the Spaniard. So poor old Oriol Oliver, having ridden the whole race in 5th place, has suddenly been sandbagged back to 8th, just like that, in the space of half a lap. Bonacorsi's really impressive. The tall Italian now, on his last lap, is having a real stab at Kevin Horgmo. Liam Everts there in the pale blue on left of picture. Lapping number 408, Scott Smolders of the Netherlands. Oh, and there's the battle between Horgmo and Bonacorsi. Bonacorsi's gone through. Surprised Kevin Horgmo, who spent the whole race trying to fight his way through into 6th place, and he's lost out to Andrea Bonacorsi, still ahead of Oriol Oliver, but once again pushed back to 7th place. Bonacorsi looking a real powerhouse here as a back marker pulls over, glances across. Horgmo, having spent the whole race forcing his way through the top 6, now finds himself having to settle for 7th once again. Meanwhile, settling for nothing except 25 points, lapping Emil Weckmann in 15th place, to the joy of the Monster Energy Yamaha team. The Monster Energy Grand Prix of Flanders MX2 Race 1 is going to be won by Jago Hertz in his attempt to close the gap on World Championship leader, the 4th place man in this race, Andrea Adamo of Red Bull KTM. So over the finish line he goes. 21 Grand Prix wins to his credit. Is it going to be the 22nd one here at Lommel? It could well be. And the quiet man of motocross gives a thumbs up. Meanwhile, his GoPro camera gets ripped off for further use. Simon Langenfelder riding very well. Lucas Koenen finishes 2nd. Langenfelder, the man from Germany, finishes in 3rd place on the gas. Adamo, red plate holder, championship leader, sees his lead cut down to 30 points by that race win for Jago Hertz. The points gaps aren't big, you see. 25 for a win, 22 for 2nd, 20 for 3rd, 20 and 18 for 4th. I'd like to see bigger gaps there so that these guys knew that they had to win races to score the points that would make a difference. Liam Everts comes over.